Hi guys, today I'm filming the finale of Power of Pan. This was a project created by Nicke Pearson for the Pantastic ladies group based off the original TV show Charmed. This has been a favorite show of mine for decades. I loved it so much and I'm never able to get up early enough to watch it on TNT, but it is just such a classic show, and this was one of the most fun projects I've ever participated in. The prompts were so fun. I loved the goals that I made, the items that I chose, the way that I brought things in. This was just so much fun. So thank you so much, Nicke, for making me go out of my comfort zone with projects. I had such a great time. So great, in fact, that Nicke is doing a round 2 and I am going to be filming that intro next. I am so excited to start working on this, having another year-long project. And as of last update, I only had one item left and I will be sharing that. And then I will also just be recapping all of the other items that I worked on in this project, just so we have a longer and more interesting finale. But I had chosen this little mini Estee Lauder Advanced Night Repair for the Prompt Piper, an anti-aging product. And I told you guys that I wanted to just use this for travel, because if I was just using it at home, I'd finish this in 2 weeks and that wouldn't really be that challenging. So I wanted to add another element to this. And I didn't think I was going to be able to finish it, but I'm behind in filming and we had a weekend trip for our anniversary. So I got my last 2 uses out of this. Previously, we had 12 uses, so it took 14 uses to finish it completely. So the weights went from 0.639, 0.627, 0.616, 0.602, 0.560, 0.537. Last update, 0.517, now 0.487. I think that this is fine. I don't notice anything from it, but as I've said about serums before, I just think of that as a preventative step, and I just care about the texture basically and how it feels on my skin. I really enjoy the texture of this. I have another little mini and I do have a full size that I was gifted, so I'll be happy to use this in my routine. But I know so many people swear by this. I used to work at an Estee Lauder counter over a decade ago, and girl, that product is still that bish. So now to run through the other prompts, I'm really hoping that I did not forget any of these, so apologies if I have. There's about 20 prompts, and some of these items I don't have because I finished them last year. A couple of things I've decluttered, but we'll still run through them. So first, for the prompt Chris, a product you would travel back in time to tell yourself about. And I chose my Dermablend translucent loose powder. I only had a little bit of it left when I brought it in. And you guys know this is a holy grail product of mine. When I first started using this, I had a little mini and I was just using this to set my makeup when I was doing foundation first impressions. But I had tried several other translucent loose powders, and then I really went to using this every day and I was like, excuse me, this is so good. The Makeup Forever HD loose powder is garbage. I think it gives a flashback. It doesn't look good on the skin. I think that this sets so nicely. My skin feels very smooth. You don't need a crazy amount of this. I love this so much. I've been loving it for years and I wish that I used it even sooner. But this is a really underrated product that I feel like would be good for so many people. This does, however, lighten the look of my makeup. I don't think it's like a flashback, but it does lighten the look of my makeup. It does come in a couple other shades if you do have a deeper skin tone, but this is incredible. And I just feel like my makeup could have been even better if I started using it sooner. Next item was for the prompt page, something that can be used alone or with another product. And I had picked a little mini of the Benefit Gimme Brow Gel in the shade number 2. I used that up last year, and my sister uses this in her brows by itself because she has really thick brows. And while I do as well, I am missing some parts, so I tend to use this with a pencil. But I felt like that was a great item for the prompt. And this is something that I've repurchased several times. I'm using a full size right now. I do really enjoy it. I don't think it is the best for hold, but I love that it has tint and I really like the fibers in it. I think it helps give more of a natural look, which I really need because of the way I draw my brows on. So definitely something I would buy again in the future. I would love to hear your favorite tinted brow gels. Next is for one of my favorite characters, Daryl, who is a police officer that helps the girls and they help him. They solve a lot of crimes that the world does not know are supernatural related. So they're helping each other solve crimes and then try to find a way to not make it obvious that it's supernatural. And the prompt is a product you can rely on. I chose a little mini of the Urban Decay eye primer, and I think that is great. And this is something that I have loved for years, and I used to always want to have this on hand, but I feel like sometimes it can be a little bit too oily for me in its consistency, and I actually prefer the Anastasia eye primer now, so I wouldn't repurchase it, but if I get any more minis, I will use them up. I do think it's a great one if you want a true translucent eye primer, and it does keep my eyeshadows from creasing. It does help them last all day. I just feel like the texture is like a little greasy sometimes. Then for Cole or Balthazar, a double-sided product, and this was a crazy stretch. I had my Anastasia eyeshadow in Birkin, and I had two little tiny pans in there, and I wanted to make them connect. And I have used so much of this in the past year, which is crazy. I love it so much. You guys know this is my holy grail transition color if I'm creating a warm tone look. Incredible, and again, stretch item to connect it to the prompt, but I think it makes sense in my brain. Then we have for the prompt Zanku, an item that you changed your mind about, and I had chosen a travel spray size of the Clean Reserve Solar Bloom perfume. I've gone back and forth about how I feel about it, and I used it up last year. I will have the notes listed, and I've decided that I do like that as a good daytime fall perfume, but I would only want to buy it again in that smaller size just because I'm not totally in love with it, but I do enjoy it, but not something I would use all year round. Next for the prompt, P3 or Power of 3, which P3 is Piper's club, but Power of 3 is the special power that the witches possess. Their power together is stronger than any individual witch. So for that, it was a trio of products, and I chose the Pat McGrath Galactic Sun face palette. This was from a couple years ago, but these are all permanent products. So you have Divine Rose Blush, Desert Orchid Blush, and Golden Nectar Highlighter. Such incredible formulas, matte blushes, a amazing metallic highlight. And I wanted to give myself a little bit more of a challenging goal. So I wanted to use each product 10 times. I did do that. Love it. It was great to get some use out of it. Next, we have Book of Shadows, which is the girls' spell book. And the prompt was No Pan Left Behind. And I chose the Lunar Beauty Moon Spell palette because this is an actual Book of Shadows, and there is a shadow named after each of the sisters: Prue, Piper, Phoebe, and Paige. And then you also have Sabrina, the teenage witch, Winifred, Sarah, and Mary from Hocus Pocus, Samantha from Bewitched, Kiki from Kiki's Special Delivery, which is an anime, Hermione from Harry Potter, Bonnie is from The Vampire Diaries. I had to look that one up because I've never seen that. Marty from Halloween Town, Nancy from The Craft, which is a movie that freaking terrifies me, and then Fiona from American Horror Story Coven. And I think that the shades are so beautiful. You have, the lighting's gonna throw it off, you have, oh, don't look at the mess, a purple row, a neutral row, and a green row. I think that this shadow does not perform that well, but I love this one and this one. I think that a lot of the shades in here are so beautiful. I've gone back and forth about whether I want to sell this or not, but I think I'm going to just hang on to it for now. I do think it is a really special palette. I do think the formula could be a little bit better, but I had to use every shade in the palette once, and I did do that. Next was the Source, something difficult to pan, and I picked an eyeshadow. I chose Makeup Geek Bake Sale and wanted to hit pan on this, which I did do, which was super exciting. It just is so hard for me to hit pan on eyeshadows, and this is, I think, the last one that I've hit pan on, and I think that it is great. I'm sad Makeup Geek is not around anymore, but I still am holding on to my Makeup Geek shadows and I need to pull them out to use them. I've been very bad about using my single pans, which is why I've not allowed myself to buy any more this year, because I'm just not using them enough. But it was incredible to hit pan on an eyeshadow. The next character is Andy, another one of my favorites. He was Daryl's police partner. He also dated Prue, and he was killed way too soon. It was devastating, and that is why the prompt for this character is a product that has gone too soon. And I chose a little mini Laura Mercier caviar stick in rose gold. And this is something last year where I had just naturally been using it depending on my makeup look, and if the other shadow stick I was using I didn't think was a proper base for my powder shadow. And just by natural use, I had gotten down to basically right above the plastic. So it was something that was going to be gone too soon because I was at the point of scooping it out, and usually it only takes me like 2 months once I get to that point. And I just worked out of a sample jar. You guys know I love my shadow sticks. I've been using a shadow stick on my lid every single day for over 10 years, almost since the beginning of me wearing makeup, and I love them because I think they really help powder shadow adhere to the lid. They make them more intense, more vibrant, more metallic, and I just love them so much. I will definitely hold on to any more rose golds that I get, but I feel like this is more champagne, and this also isn't as metallic as I would like it to be, but it doesn't really matter because I don't wear it on its own. However, I do prefer Bobbi Brown Golden Pink because that one is a little bit more true rose gold, while this one is a little bit more champagne. But I just love my Laura Mercier caviar sticks. I have so many of them, so I actually forgot that I finished this one this year, so that's exciting to have another eyeshadow stick empty. Next I had the prompt, Billy, a new purchase. Billy was played by Kaylee Cuoco, and her sister joined the girls at some point. And Billy's sister, which I can't remember her name, was like half witch, half demon. And the show was, honest to God, not as interesting once those girls joined. But Billy was a new witch, so new purchase. And for me, that was something that I had gotten after the holidays last year. This is a Pat McGrath Mothership Bijou Brilliance Starstruck Splenda palette. And I wanted to use the eyeshadows no pan left behind, so use each of these 9 shadows 1 time, and I wanted to use the blushes 3 times each. So you have Nymphette, which is a permanent one, and then Coral Cosmos, which was exclusive to this palette. I think that this performed super well. These are just her regular shimmer, not her crazy, I don't even know what they're called, but you know, like the special shades. These are not the special shades, but this was a really great palette for 50% off. So I was glad to get use out of this, and I am happy that I have this one. Then for the prompt Phoebe, something you predict you will love using, I had brought in an Hourglass Marbled face palette in the lighter version. I wanted to use each product 5 times, and I ended up not really loving that one, so I sold it, which was really exciting. Next is, I just love the guys apparently. Next is another favorite character, Dan. Something you should love but don't. He was the girl's neighbor, and Piper was like back and forth between Dan and Leo. I really love Leo, but I wish that Piper could have 2 boyfriends because Dan was just so stunning. I mean, he's the most gorgeous neighbor on TV I've ever seen, and just like such a sweet guy. So I had chosen the Glow Recipe Strawberry BHA Pore Smooth Blur Drops. You can see the freaking label all peeled off, all nasty. And I brought this in because everybody raved about this and said it was so good for blurring the pores. It does not do that for me. But I do think it is an all-over smoothing primer. I think it is a little bit mattifying, and I love the way it feels on my skin. So as I started working through this, I actually ended up really enjoying this. This is something I would buy again in the future, but this does have a 6-month shelf life, which is freaking bonkers. So I need to work through more of my primers before I would repurchase this. But I was pretty impressed, although I did go through it very quickly. I feel like a lot comes out at once. But I don't necessarily feel like I wasted it, but just it went a little bit faster than I thought it would. But I actually ended up changing my mind about that product, which is great. Next, for the Prompt Pro, something you want to move out of your collection because her power is telekinesis. And I literally have brought in 3 different items for this prompt. First was the Smashbox Halo Glow Concealer Pen. I decided to declutter. Then it was a little mini of the NARS Light Reflecting Setting Powder. I also decided to declutter. And then what I decided to finally work on was this little mini Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. And this just had 0.03 ounces or 9 grams. So I went through it quickly. This is just okay. I know a lot of people with dry skin love this, but for some reason when I use this to set my under eyes felt a little bit tight. It could be that I use too much. I am a crazy powder girly, but I've used this before and I don't think it's that special. If I get more of these, I will use it up because it's very easy for me to finish powder, but not something amazing. But it was great to just knock out a product. Next, for Barbus, which is a very freaking scary demon, something that you are afraid to pan, and I chose this Westman Atelier Cream Cheek Trio. So you had little blister packs of the Contour and Biscuit Highlight and Lit and Blush and Petal. I depotted these to make them easier to apply, and I did not count the uses for Biscuit, unfortunately, but for the other products I did, I used the blush 22 times and the highlight 10 times. I loved the blush and the contour. I think the contour is actually a really great shade, not too gray and scary. These are very pigmented, but I want to say more of like a satin matte formula, not as dewy and glowy as other products, which I really enjoy. They look beautiful on the skin, really easy to work with. The Lit highlight, I hated it. It was like a dewy balm. It made my makeup break up. I used it underneath of my foundation to use it up, but I don't like that at all. It is a dew balm. It is not a cream highlight stick. But the other 2 products I really enjoy. I'm not gonna buy them, but I understand kind of why people love them. And this is a sample that I've been hanging on for such a long time. I'm so glad I finished it. And the reason it fit this prompt is because I had put off using this for forever because I didn't know how I was gonna work out of the packaging, but I just put it in different packaging and then it was totally fine. Next we have Abraxas, a duplicate product, and I picked something I have a backup of, and that would be the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Flawless Wear Concealer in 1 in Light Neutral. At the end, my little doe foot applicator ended up breaking off. This is my favorite blemish concealer of all time. I have the NARS Soft Matte, but I like this one. The NARS, I like when I put that one underneath the foundation, but over foundation, it's fine. But I think that this lays down nicely and dries down. This is also great for adding a little bit more coverage on my cheeks. I've tried this in another shade for under my eyes, and I think it's great as well. This does have your regular doe foot applicator size, which I think is great for blemishes, but I've repurchased this. Usually goes on sale at Ulta around the holiday time for 40% off, 50% off, and I will always get one. Usually one lasts me a year, but this is a holy grail product of mine. Absolutely recommend. It is another really underrated product. So this is full coverage satin matte finish. Next was for the Prompt Leo or White Lighter, a glowy product. I brought in a neglected item, the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter Liners in Midnight Cowboy and Starfire. I wanted to use them 3 times each. I did, and I passed them on. This is something I've held on to forever because it was such a favorite of people, and I felt like it was something good to have in my collection just in case. But that just in case moment never came up for me, so I decided to let it go. And Midnight Cowboy, I wanted to try using it how Jenny from Green Eggs and Glam uses it, and it just didn't look the same on my eyes. We have different eye shapes and lid situations, and it looks way better on her than me, so I did declutter those. Then for the Shax Demon, a product that gets a second chance, I chose the KVD Dazzle Stick in Electro Bolt. I used it 3 times. I decided to keep it. It's very beautiful, but this is very chunky and messy. It's also quite big, so it's not easy for me to apply this to my lids. I need to use a brush to apply it, which to me defeats the purpose of it being in a stick. Not gonna buy any more of these, but I did end up really liking this when I used it. Then for the Prompt Nexus, a neutral shadow or lipstick, I chose another neglected product. This is the Vesca Moonlit Dream Cream Shadow and Karina. I wanted to use it 3 times, a beautiful golden bronze. I'm glad I did because I ended up liking it more. I do all of my mattes first, then I put some of this on the back of my hand. I take a little flat synthetic brush and just pack it on my lid, apply mascara, and I'm good to go. It looks beautiful. This has a 6-month shelf life, but it doesn't stink, so I'm gonna hold on to it until it goes bad. Unfortunately, Vesca went out of business because their products were so good. Next was the Prompt Grams, an oldest product. I picked my oldest pressed powder, which was Rimmel Stay Matte. I'll have to put a picture on the screen of where I started. There was quite a bit of this left, although I do believe I had hit pan, and this has also been a favorite of mine for decades. I'm a very oily girl, and I remember back in the day trying so many different mattifying powders, trying to find something that worked really well for me, and this is just the best one. I wish they would update the packaging a little bit, but it's fine. It works okay, and I love using this. After I've set my skin, I will take this in my really oily areas, and I do love using this to touch up. Whether I blot or not, it never makes my makeup kind of like ball up or look cakey. This is just an incredible formula, but this is something that was pretty old in my collection, obviously, so I was really glad to have that knocked out, and I am working on a new one. Then for the Prompt Gideon, a product you need to learn to use, I chose Self Tanner because I never use them. I had 4 different self tanners in my collection. I wanted to use them 1 time each, which I did. I had sprays and serums and gradual tanning lotions, and I've actually decided to let go of all of them just because I never self-tan, and why not pass them on to a friend. But I am really glad that I made myself try them. And lastly, we had the Prompt Triad, a triangular product, and I had a hard time coming up with something, and then Nicke gave me several options because I don't own anything from LYS, which is what I initially thought of, which I do now, but I didn't then. And Nicke talked about brow pencils, and it reminded me of the Buxom Power Line Plumping Lip Liners. And this is a triangle shape. This is a little deluxe size I have in Hush Hush Henna. Initially, I wanted to use it 10 times, and I decided, oh, Heather, why don't you just try to finish it? Because it will probably be around 10 uses. Ridiculous. I will include a picture of where it started from. I incredibly underestimated that. I got 42 uses out of this. Now for my lip liners, I just line my lips. I don't fill them in, but this is so nice because it does help shade the lips. Really creamy formula, but does work very well as a lip liner. So I really did enjoy this. I probably won't buy any more, but I do already have other shades in this formula. This was a beautiful warm tone shade. So really glad that I got to use up a lip liner. That's my finale for Power of Pan. This is such a fun project. I would love if you guys would join in for round 2. I'm so excited. Basically, there is going to be a prompt for every episode of season 1. I am going to be filming that later tonight, and I can't wait to pick my items, and I still need to figure out what I want to bring in now because I'm still in the mindset of what can I finish by the end of the year. But I might do what I did for the intro of this one, which is where I had picked like 5 use up items and 5 progress items to start, and then roll in more as we get into the new year. But anyway, thank y'all so much for watching this video. I have other Project Pan updates before and after this. I would love if you would subscribe to see those as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.